Hello and welcome to Here Comes the Bride, the Church Begins. I am Pastor Jim Devore at Cornerstone Church of Littlerock in California. We are so glad to have you with us. And yes, if you're wondering, we survived the fire, though we have about a dozen of our own families that were evacuated. Miraculously, all of our church family members actually have their homes that they can return to. Some need power and water before they can return, but all of them have neighbors around and nearby that are hurting, that are struggling. Some have lost their homes. We didn't have any loss of life in our immediate area. That's a blessing, but we have a lot of confusion and displacement for people. So you can be praying for us as a church if you're watching this somewhere in the neighborhood of September 2020 as we begin to reach out and try to minister both to our families and to the friends and relatives around us. In fact, we really want to use this as an opportunity to come alongside and help them see the love of Jesus so that they will have a testimony for the love of Christ. And that is my transition, by the way, for a testimony. It is Paul's testimony in Acts chapter 22. He has been arrested in Jerusalem at the end of the third missionary journey, and he has been brought before the tribunal. And the people, he asked the Roman tribune, that's the soldiers, before they take him away into jail, if he can stop and address his people, the Jews, all the Jews, his people by ethnicity, and he is sharing with them his testimony. And so we leave him at the point where he has said, I was a Jew of Jews, I was taught under Gamaliel, I was against the way, the Christian followers, I was on my way to Damascus to have more of them arrested and jailed and beaten, and while I was there, on my way there, a bright light came, and I fell to the ground, and the bright light was accompanied by the voice of Jesus, and they wanted to know why I was persecuting him, and I was blinded, and I had to get somebody to lead me the rest of the way to Damascus, and then God sent Ananias, and Ananias told me that I needed to believe that Jesus Christ was the one speaking to me and calling to me, and then Ananias called me to be baptized, and my statement of baptism was a statement of my own obedience to Jesus, my own belief that he died on the cross and rose from the dead. Okay, and then we have Paul's salvation. Okay, so now Paul's going to continue in his testimony here about what happens to him after his salvation. When I returned to Jerusalem and was praying in the temple, I fell into a trance and now saw him saying to me, make haste and get out of Jerusalem quickly, because they will not accept your testimony about me. And I said, Lord, they themselves know that in one synagogue after another I imprisoned and beat those who believed in you. And when the blood of Stephen, your witness, was being shed, I myself was standing by and approved and watching over the garments of those who killed me. And he said to me, go, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles. Okay? All right. So in verse 16, Paul rises and is baptized. Okay? But then verse 17 says, when I had returned to Jerusalem. Well, this is like 3 years later. You read the book of Galatians and you find out that after his conversion, he goes away into Arabia, I believe it is, for 3 years, where he literally meets with the risen, resurrected Jesus Christ and is taught directly by Jesus. So he comes back to Jerusalem, and while at Jerusalem, after they've received him and he shares his testimony, the Jews are rising up against him. And so the Spirit tells him, get out of Jerusalem. We're going to send you away to be a mouthpiece to the Gentiles. So God literally forces Paul out of Jerusalem, out away from his people, and sends him on his lifelong now process and journey of sharing the good news of Jesus Christ with the Gentiles. So he leaves Jerusalem, verse 21. He said to me, go, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles. Okay? All right. Now, that's Paul sharing his testimony of what took place many, many years ago in his life when he was saved and then sent out on the first missionary journey. We're at the end of the third missionary journey, okay? Many, many years later, even over a decade later, he's been arrested by the Jews again, or grabbed by the Jews, rescued by the Romans, but being taken to jail as a result of the disturbance he's caused. Verse 22. Up to this word, they listened to him. Who's the they? The fellow Jews, because he's speaking in Hebrew to them, and they were amazed by what he shared. Okay? Then they raised their voice and said, away with such a fellow from the earth, for he should not be allowed to live. And as they were shouting and throwing off their cloaks and flinging them into the air, the tribune ordered him to be brought into the barracks, saying that he should be examined by flogging. He should be examined by flogging to find out why they were shouting against him like this. That's a tough examination. So what happens is they're okay listening to Paul, okay, until he begins to say things like, and when the blood, or let's go back to verse 19, and I said, Lord, they themselves know that in one synagogue after another I imprisoned and beat those who believed in you. And when the blood of Stephen, your witness, was being shed, I myself was standing by and approving and watching over the garments of those who killed him. So what does Paul say that causes such a problem? He calls Stephen God's martyr. The Jews don't believe that Stephen is God's martyr. You don't kill God's martyr. You kill the martyr of a false religion. You kill a false prophet. So Paul is suddenly taking the side of Stephen, a follower of the way, and saying he was God's martyr. And so that meant that his way was right and the people's way was wrong. Okay? And so then he said, go, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles. That really infuriates the Jews. Like, oh my goodness, how can this guy possibly say that he's going to go bring the salvation of God to the Gentiles when they think it's only for the Jews? So they're upset and they want him done away with. Okay? All right. Verse 25 now. So he's been brought into the barracks so he could be examined by flogging in verse 24. What kind of examination is that? That is brutal. The idea is that he's going to tell the truth if we beat him enough. Okay? So they're going to beat him to appease the Jews, beat him to try to get the truth out of him, beat him into submission of coming up with a story. Guilty until proven innocent. Okay? Opposite of our system. When they stretched him out for the whip, so they're going to flog him, but they haven't done it yet. When they stretched him out for the whips, Paul said to the centurion who was standing by, is it lawful for you to flog a man who is a Roman citizen and uncondemned? Well, the answer is no. They don't know he's a Roman citizen. They think he's a Jew. And so they're going to whip him mainly for being a Jew who's caused a problem. But now they find out he's a Roman citizen. When the centurion heard this, he went to the tribune and said to him, what are you about to do? For this man is a Roman citizen. So the tribune came and said to him, tell me, are you a Roman citizen? He said, yes. The tribune answered, I bought this citizenship for a large sum. Paul said, but I am a citizen by birth. It shows you different ways you can become a Roman citizen. You can buy it or you can get it by birth. So those who were about to examine him withdrew from him immediately, and the tribune also was afraid, for he realized that Paul was a Roman citizen, that he had bound him. Jews are not considered Roman citizens. They don't have the same respect or friendly treatment as a Roman citizen does. They can be arrested, they can be bound, they can be beaten without ever hearing whether they're guilty or not. A Roman citizen has rights. And when they find out that Paul has the rights of a Roman citizen, he could literally get them in trouble for binding his hands and bringing him as far as they did without first hearing a proper tribunal hearing. So now they're worried that they are going to be in trouble over this situation. But we're going to find out that no, that's not what happens. Paul's not out to get them. He's out to take advantage of the situation. So here we go. Verse 30. But on the next day, desiring to know the real reason why he was being accused by the Jews, he unbound him and commanded the chief priests and all the council to meet, and he brought Paul down and set him before them. So he, being the tribune, that's the leader, one of the governmental leaders in Jerusalem of the Roman sector. Okay, he says, well, wait, I got to find out the truth of why they bound you. So that's the next day. He wants to know the real reason. So what does he do? He calls a little meeting here between the Jewish council and between Paul. And what's going to come of that? Paul's going to get to defend himself, and he's also going to present the gospel in his defense. Okay, I think we're at a good point to wrap up here for today. We'll pick up in verse 23 tomorrow and also, or next time. And I believe that also is going to put us at devotional number 56 in our study through the book of Acts. Here comes the bride, the church begins. Thanks for joining us.